Sometimes in life, you find yourself on the right side of the line.
We got a trio of threes talking about a four.
Just because it's called a stereotype doesn't make it a lie. You can put that on my greatness statue, that quote right there.
Live from Texas, this is the Dryline Farmer Podcast. What has four thumbs and hates people? These guys. It's the Dryline Farmer Podcast.
That's right, Ashton. It is the Dryline Farmer Podcast. We've got a special treat this week, just like at DQ, because everybody knows that's where Tom Tenseth visits he's probably got a regular seat at the Dairy Queen down there wherever he lives, but nonetheless, we hope that Dairy Queen will become a sponsor because they are a national entity. This is the Dryline Farmer Podcast. Landon is on assignment this week. What that means is he didn't show up, so I don't know. I gave him the week off, whatever the case is. But this week we've got a well-known Twitter felon. No, you're not. You got that one dismissed, didn't you, Tom?
I did get the 3 felonies dismissed.
Okay, so you're not any longer on the no-fly list.
That's correct.
Well, that's good to hear because we don't do any background checks here on the podcast. But we got Tom Tenseth, and I'm sure all of y'all have seen him all over Twitter. He's I don't know if he's a gun fanatic or a hunting fanatic, or maybe he's a banana split fanatic. But whatever the case is, we've been trying to get together and do a podcast episode together, and I thought I'd shoot a little interview his way, and we were going to see how that goes. Tom, how's it going down there? And tell me, you're over there in what they call North Texas, even though I'm in actual North Texas. But tell me whereabouts your DQ is.
Well, my Dairy Queen is off a Ranger Highway in the big city of Weatherford. You know, that's where you can go there. It's the home of the Belt Buster, and you can walk out there with a dilly bar anytime you want to.
The dilly bar is way underrated. Way underrated.
You know, I think there's a lot of people out there could use a dilly bar. I mean, and sometimes, you know, you ever notice that when you go there and you order the Blizzard, have you ever been to Dairy Queen when you go through there and they don't tip it upside down?
Don't you isn't there like a discount?
It's not really a Blizzard then, or is that it's not quality?
Well, isn't there a discount supposed to be involved, or do you have to like write a letter?
I don't know what you have to do, but if they don't turn it upside down, I think it's low quality because, you know, the Georgia Mud Fudge is the one that you want to order when you get that, and because that's the thing that you want sitting on top of that double half pound Belt Buster. That's the best combo here.
You know, when they named all that stuff, they got the Hunger Buster. Now, our Dairy Queen in Hereford, it is just 2 blocks down from the high school. And now, back when we were in high school, when you were freshmen, like they don't let the freshmen off campus for lunch anymore. But when we were freshmen, we would always make back when we could actually move, you know, until we got fat and old, we would have, what would we have? We'd have 40 minutes. We'd have 35 minutes for lunch, and we'd run 2 blocks down. Actually, there was Dairy Queen there, and then across the street was Mr. Burger. And then if we really felt like we were athletic that day, there was another barbecue joint another block down. But we would hit the DQ and the Mr. Burger pretty hard and fill our arteries full of cholesterol and sodium. But I haven't seen the what'd you call it, a Georgia Mud Pie Blizzard? I don't think we have that in Hereford.
Georgia Mud Fudge is what they call it. So it's some type of it's got a lot of fudge in it, a lot of chocolate, and it also has pecans. Yes, it's a favorite of my wife's, and she always wants to make sure that they turn it upside down before I bring it here. Otherwise, it's not of the right consistency. Georgia
Mud Fudge. That sounds like some kind of homosexual southeastern thing.
Well, I mean, it's equal opportunity there at the Dairy Queen.
See, if I saw Georgia Mud Fudge, I would probably order it, but I'm usually the chocolate extreme Blizzard guy, and I have to get the mini. I feel guilty if I get a small because it's pretty sizable. But so the difference. So I like going to Sonic because their mini is really a small. Like it's probably 2 cups worth of ice cream. You go to the DQ, their mini is actually a mini. Like I'm putting my hands up, like if you could actually see it, which you can't. But it's actually what? It's larger than a communion serving size, but smaller than a shot glass. What would you call their mini size?
I would say it's a shot glass.
Yeah.
Shot glass.
I mean, so now
because the little communion cups where you tear off the top and you have the wafer on top, and then the Jesus juice is right underneath that. I would say that's a thimble. That's not really a shot.
See now, are you Catholic?
I was born and raised Catholic. However, we attend a non-denominational church here. I married a Pentecostal girl.
So don't tell me, is your church called either the Harvest, Living Water, or let's see, what would be another one? Weatherford International?
No. It's Grace Community Fellowship.
Oh, okay.
GCF.
That would have been that was my fourth guest. Guess. Well, we just came across the last 2 months. See, we're Methodist, and we do it the first Sunday of every month. And I think since COVID, we got introduced to the wafer in the first plastic sheet on top of the grape juice with underneath the secondary plastic sheet, and that's kind of a new thing for us. And it's when you got people with arthritis on one side of the church, and then you've got the little kids with the parents, and then they like crush the communion cup when they're trying to get the flake out. It's pretty sweet. On that note, when back before the COVID days, this is tell you the good old days. We go up to the altar and we do all that stuff, and we have the plastic little cups on the tray or whatever. And I got my bread. I was reaching for the cup, the little shot glass, and they're all plastic. And of course, and I was grabbing it, and it wasn't going, and I was just starting to make my move to the next one. And it was too late, and I had crushed it right in my hand, and it splashed across like 4 cups and got all on my hand, and I knew that I couldn't come back to church ever again because I knew that wasn't a very good sign. But I don't know if it was a baptism or a sign from God.
So now, was that one of those stacked up trays, kind of like a wedding cake that had the holes drilled in it that the little cups sat in?
Yeah, so this was the second layer. So we'd already gone through. No, this had to be the first layer because we sit close to the back. So we were probably gotten the first one. But yeah, these are the trays that they stack on top of each other like you get the fancy entree on a cruise ship.
Well, it almost looked like you could use it to roast jalapenos on, right? Well, no. These are sterling silver, so I don't know if they would stain. They would probably stain, but no, these are something you could put. These are something you could put a whole lot of deviled eggs in, and put the narrow end of the egg in the side, on the side where the cup goes. It'd double as a. Isn't that ironic, Tom? The communion tray also doubles as a deviled egg holder. Well, that's what I was going to ask you. Are you sure that you guys are Methodist? Because that kind of sounds like a little bit of a Catholic event there.
Well, our Methodist church is about to experience a split, so I don't know what we're going to call ourselves after this year, but it's
Well, you could have like the Second Methodist Church instead of the First Baptist. You could go back and you could have the Second.
See, there's actually a Second Baptist Church in Lubbock, and I don't know. I never understood what the first. I didn't know we were ranking everybody now. I didn't know that was.
Well, I didn't know if you knew this or not, but about that is that you have your you're on, I don't know if you're aware of this or not. This might be a newsflash, but Episcopalians they don't recognize the Pope as the leader of the church, right?
Right.
And for the most part, Jewish people don't recognize Jesus as the Son of God, right?
Yeah, I know where this is going, but go ahead.
But Baptists, they don't recognize each other inside the liquor store.
That's right. You don't want anybody to drink your beer, just bring a Baptist with you in a 6-pack, and that thing will last all weekend.
Mm-hmm.
Now,
that's what they say. They say you never go fishing with one. Always take 2, because if you just bring one, he'll drink all your beer.
That's right. Now, Tom, what are you drinking tonight? I've got my Shiner Light Blonde, and it's only 99 calories.
Well, unfortunately, I've got 13 carbs in my hand, and that's out of Modelo Especial.
I do.
And, it's my favorite.
I do like, and I like the Negra Especial, the real dark version of it. It's really good too. And you always got to be real careful when you're saying that model.
Well, you have to be careful about the carbs on that one too, or not?
You know what? I have got a problem. So it's funny when we go to these stock shows. For some reason, the Michelob Ultra is the beer of choice. You've got all these steer jocks standing around with their flat build caps, and they got the not quite a mullet haircut, but almost a mullet haircut. And they've got 30 steers down there in Prosper that they're trying to get sold, and they're wanting $20,000 a piece. But, they're doing all that badass talking, and yet they're drinking a Michelob Ultra that has how many carbs does a Michelob Ultra have? 0 carbs, or I don't know what the story is.
I think it's actually a negative. I think it's a negative too.
You actually pull carbs out of your body. It's like a catheter into your liver.
It is exactly what it is. It takes sugar straight from your liver of the converted lack of alcohol, and you end up losing 2 carbs from each one you drink.
It would probably be to my advantage to do that. If you're drinking beer, who cares? Why? You're obviously not caring about your health if you're drinking beer and the low carbs. You don't see potheads out there, getting a high fiber marijuana out there, do you?
Well, here's the thing, because they're going ahead and they're toking it up. And I don't know if you're old enough to remember that commercial where the guy's sitting in the old burnt out house, kind of, and he's in his room and he's in his late 30s, and mom yells from the kitchen, "Jimmy, are you gonna go find a job today?" And he goes, "No, Mom," while he's rolling a joint and says, "I'm going to do that tomorrow," while he's watching black and white TV that's got some fuzz on the screen. I think Jimmy's going down to get some nachos. I don't think he's worried about calories or carbs. Yeah,
I don't think so. No, I guess I must. The first, what was the first jingle? Where's the beef? That was kind of, and I already made the donuts. I can remember that. That was kind of around that Goonies age. So that's probably, this must be a 70s thing.
Yeah. Well, I am 50 years old, so
damn.
Experienced a little bit of that stuff over the years. And I never. What age group are you and Landon in?
So I'm approaching 40. I'll be 40 next month, and so we're in between the. I guess you're a Gen Xer, aren't you, or what are you?
Yeah.
So I'm in between that and the millennials, because from what I've seen from all official documentation, millennials start in 1982, and I was in 81, so we're kind of the in-betweeners. I don't know if we've ever been designated as a generation. We might be the lost generation, but now my wife is a millennial, and Landon is, I would say he's a millennial just by a year or so. So we're in that. We really like Stranger Things because that's right up our time zone. So yeah, it's real nostalgic.
Have you noticed that it's more difficult to do business that way, or do you feel it's harder to make relationships? Do you have any issue you think that's associated with it?
Well, I try my best to piss everybody off that I can, so it's really not an issue with that. No, I've noticed, and you've probably the same thing, when you get older, I don't know what age it was, probably in the 30s somewhere, where age differences really didn't matter. When you're in your 20s, 30, late 30s are kind of old, and if you're in your 20s, maybe up to, I would say, you can disagree with me here if you want. Is it 26, 27? What age is when you become the old guy at the bar? Or can you get to 30 and be all right?
Well, I think you can get to 30. I think what you're reaching at today is if you're in there, and what I'm starting to see, and I see this daily because I'm around people a lot in the business, and I see this. You see these guys that are at the 45 to 52, 53 range that are obviously doing that 10 cc's a week of testosterone clinic stuff, and they got that little red hue to their skin, and their veins are popping on the outside, and they've got that flat brim working and that Affliction t-shirt on, and they're wearing a pair of jeans with more sparkles on it than my wife has on it, and they're wearing those, and they're trying to look like they're in that 28 to 32 range, and those are the guys that really look old. And this is coming from a 50-year-old guy that has zero fashion sense at all.
Affliction.
I kind of think that maybe having iron clothes is pretty fashionable.
Iron Maiden.
And,
Iron clothes.
You know, do you not see that anymore? And the best part is when you see one of them that's in the 55 to 58 range, and they're married to their secretary, and they're like 28 to 32, and they're pushing a stroller down the street, and that guy looks so tired that he's wanting a Mack truck to run him over.
Oh, that is an awesome plug for Bruckner Trucking, isn't it?
Well, you know, Bruckner Truck Sales has been in business since 1932. I don't know if you're aware of this or not, Brent, but you know, they got their start there in the Panhandle, and they opened up their first shop there, and been in business since 1932. Benny Bruckner Sr. Started fixing alternators and working on other electronic equipment back there in the 30s. And matter of fact, one of his workbenches was actually featured in the Smithsonian years ago. And I know you being up from the Panhandle there, you know, Panhandle has a lot of agriculture and oil in that area, and they were the first Mack truck franchise in the state of Texas, starting in 1948. And you know, it's been a pleasure for me. I've worked there for 26 years. Started as a mechanic, and I spent about 5-6 years doing that. Got into sales in 2000, and I've been in sales management since 2017. It's been a good company to work for, and I enjoy coming up to the Panhandle. Usually I end up there during hunting season a lot because I do like to bird hunt. And so that's where the mothership is right now. And currently we're located in 7 states and have over 30 locations. But when I went to work there were just 3.
So you're the sole reason that's grown tenfold.
I'm not certain of that. Nobody has come forward and gave me that award for anything like that. But you know, it's been a lot of fun. I've built a lot of great relationships over the years up there, and had a lot of fun selling trucks and selling trailers for Bruckner. It's been a great company to work for.
So now, do y'all? Is it just Mack trucks, or y'all a multiple dealer, multiple brand dealership?
We sell not only Mack, but we also sell Volvo, Hino, and Isuzu at different locations. And we used to carry the Fuso line. And the nice thing is what I currently do is I'm the trailer sales manager for the corporate side. So I help all the salesmen out there help sell trailers and stock all the trailers. You know, any of the heavy haul, flatbeds, drop decks, equipment type trailers, any oil field trailers, the vacuums, acid, stainless steel, any of the agricultural type trailers for hauling chemical. We don't offer a dry van or a reefer, but everything else we kind of keep in stock.
Now you said vacuum.
Yeah, the vacuum, that would be you see the steel tanks that go and collect salt water, production water off of the well tanks.
Oh, okay.
And or maybe up in your area, maybe they move manure with them, or they'll move liquid drilling mud back and forth, and they'll go there and they'll pull. They've got a pump on there that'll suck that, create a vacuum on the tank, and then it'll suck up any kind of water or sludge off any of the tanks.
Yeah, the most ever since probably the early 2000s, most of the liquid hauling trucks is all milk up here. We've got dairy wagons going around like it's Wisconsin down here. It's pretty wild on the milk front.
Well, I was going to ask you, and that deal, did you guys see an influx of people moving? Because we have a large dairy community down in Erath County, Stephenville area.
Oh yeah,
and down in that area, and you know, you see them feeding that cottonseed trash that'll come off, and you'll see the dairies there. And a lot of those dairies moved out of that area and went to New Mexico over the years.
Right.
Did any of them move up to the Panhandle over there, or
so,
do you think they all ended up in New Mexico?
So over there at Clovis, which is 40 miles southwest of Hereford over there right across the New Mexico state, Texas state line. There's a real heavy concentration of dairies over there, but like I was saying earlier, about 2000, 2003 and 4, the influx started coming out of California, and we've got several dairies that have moved in from California. So there's a couple from Idaho, but we probably went from 0 dairies in the 90s to, gosh, I don't know how many dairies there are. I know the one right next door to my farm, they milk 12,000 a day. They've got 3 milking parlors, and they pretty much surround me with either the dairy or farmland they bought, and then there's a dairy in between my house and that farm, and there's a dairy north of my house, and of course we're really known for our feed yards. There's a feed yard northeast of our house that they're feeding 30,000. I think they're increasing their capacity right now. They're building more pens, but I know Stephenville, there might have been a couple people out of Stephenville that came up here, but most everything's from California and Idaho, and they've gotten really competitive on the land. They sold their stuff for top dollar by the square foot over there in California, and came over here and really made it pretty competitive on the buying land and everything. But so yeah, it's become pretty dairy heavy here in the Panhandle, and we grow corn. We grow food corn for the co-op here, and non-GMO food corn. It's pretty good contract, and we've been doing that. That's where Landon works. He works for Hereford Grain, and so we've dealt with them for several years. We used to have a Frito-Lay plant several years ago, and they quit and left in the late 90s, I believe, and pretty much all the corn grown here went to there. They gave a really good basis, probably, maybe $1 over, which with our deal, it's about the same as that with dividends and everything. But we're growing more cotton now because our water capacity irrigation is just dramatically dropping every year, and there's been more and more cotton growing here. And like my farm, it's 4,000 feet elevation, which is pretty tough on cotton, but they're developing more varieties that are getting the shorter season, and they can handle those fewer growing degree days, which the last several years hasn't been an issue because we've had year after year of heat, and of course we're in a D4 drought now, and it gets pretty relentless after a while. So hopefully we'll come out. I saw the latest La Nina forecast. They're calling for a bad one this year, so who knows? I don't know. We've gotten more snow than we did last year, and we were like neutral, I think. But whatever the case, we've had several droughts in a row, and you'll look on the almanac, and oh, y'all had a great year. Well, like, was it last in 19? We didn't have any rain until August, and then we got like a 6-inch rain in October, and then we showed above average for the year, and yet it was just a dry son of a bitch, and hot. And of course, we had those bad years in the early 2011. Of course, that set all the records. It was just beyond depressive. We had, I can't remember what it was, 45 days above 100 degrees, and all summer was above 90 degrees and no rain, and it was a pretty sad state of affairs. That's when the cattle herd started getting cold all across the southern plains and everything. But to answer your question, yeah, we've had dairies that they've really taken a hold around the area. So, but yeah.
So when you're selling, you're selling the feed corn, goes to the co-op, and then do they take some of that to the distillers grain, what's left of that, and then mulch that up with other feed stock, and then feed that to the dairy cattle?
So like our stuff, it's all food grade corn, so it's for human consumption. So it'll either get shipped to California. I think a lot of it goes down to Dallas, but there's 2 ethanol plants on the east side of Hereford, and I think one of them's been idled for several months. But all of that, I think pretty much all of that corn gets railed in from the Midwest, and there's Cargill has a sizable terminal on the west side of Hereford, and I don't know how many loads a day they haul out, but it's all railed in because obviously we've got, I think they said we feed 1 million head a year just in the county. We can't grow near enough corn to service that, and then it's not competitive compared to our food corn contract we have with our co-op. So, yeah, all the feed yard corn, I would say the vast majority of it is railed in. Now, obviously, a lot of silage is also grown here too, and that goes to the feed yards of the dairies, and that's really the silage has been really. I mean, it's pretty hard to beat. You have to kind of think about whether you want to grow silage because it's such. I mean, it pays really well. We've got several cows, and of course, we use corn stalks in the wintertime for to graze them out during the wintertime. But so the silage is kind of hard for us.
That's very important, Brent, because if you have those kind of stubble stalks there, is there any chance that you have any pheasant that are hanging out in that?
So I was wanting to get to that, and everybody knows. If they don't, they haven't followed his. Somebody's calling in, but he can wait. He's a vet, and so yeah, we had pheasant. Of course, our pheasant season's in December, and I haven't actually been out to hunt pheasant. I'm not just a big hunter. I play golf and stuff, and the only hunting I really ever did was pheasant, and maybe did a little goose hunting. But we've got some pheasant hunters and that come in from all over the place. Back in the 80s and the 70s, back when we really had a lot of runoff water, we had tailwater pits and everything, and now everything's center pivots, so all the runoff is non-existent anymore. But back in the day, that you could limit out on a pheasant hunt on one run, and you might go all weekend and barely see a couple of roosters. So it's pretty, it's gone downhill. Now we have we're right in the middle of a geese flyway. We're real heavy in that, Canadians and snow geese. But Tom, there were some people hunting on one of our places Sunday morning, and that was after we had just gotten like 3 or 4 inches of snow. And they were out there, and you got to get out there. What do you get out there? 4:30 in the morning to go set up decoys.
Yeah.
And these people were out. I got out and checked cow water, broke some ice, and drove back by at 8:00 in the morning. And I guess they just gotten. I don't know. I thought I saw them walking back to their pickups. But Todd, what is it about laying under a big, massive decoy at 6 in the morning? When it's literally 20 degrees in the snow? Tell me, Tom, how is that fun?
Well, it's because you hate yourself.
Well, it'd have to be.
Yeah, it's pure self-hatred because you go there. You should really, and you see, you can give a man a goose, you can give a man a duck, but if you teach that man how to duck or goose hunt, that man's wife will hate you for the rest of your life.
Let's see, we have a 50% divorce rate. What is it?
Yeah, I'm telling you, it's a huge divorce rate among waterfowl hunters because there's something demented about somebody that wants to sit out there and actually shrink their scrotum to the size of dried peas.
Of the BBs in the shells, yeah.
Yes, BB's only smaller, to quote an actress. But, it kind of gets to the point where you actually hate yourself, and you do sit there and you ponder when your teeth are chattering and you can no longer feel your feet. You're waiting for that one goose to fly over so that you can pull the trigger hoping that there's a band on that one because, let's face it, everybody says, oh, man, I love to eat those Canadian geese. I'm going to tell you straight up, I've had them as sausage. I've had the breast. I've had them cooked with the skin on.
Oh.
Okay. But, I mean, I'd kind of, if I had cooked goose in front of me and there was a can of Alpo next to it and I was dying of starvation, I'd probably eat the Alpo.
Now, isn't that what they ate in the Christmas Carol, the cooked goose? And they were broke, and they had a kid that was a cripple.
Yeah. Rah, 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 rah.
That was a Christmas story, yeah. The duck, it's smiling at me, yeah. No, so my dad... Yeah, it was a heck of a show, yeah. My grandparents, they grew tame geese. And, obviously when my dad was a kid, and of course they were just, they were poor as, about as poor as you could get. without being homeless back in the 40s and 50s. But anyway, those some bitches were mean. He said if they flapped their wings and you were next to them, they could break your arm just about. Anyway, and they would cook those things. And when my mom and dad got married, I think they still had them. And I mean, I think my mom had one season of that, and she goes, no, I'm not doing that anymore, because she didn't grow up on a farm. She grew up in town, and she grew up. Her parents were teachers, so they had a little bit more money and everything. So she got to eat, stuff that was grown in the supermarket, So she wasn't really down with that. So now are you a crazy hunter? What kind of level of crazy? Because you remember the hot crazy matrix, don't you? The dude that had the hot.
Absolutely.
Now, are you I know you're not any more than about a 5 hot, but what kind of crazy are you?
Oh, I'm probably. I used to probably be at probably about an 8 or a 9. I've traveled abroad a few times. I love to do that, and
To hunt?
Over and hunt. I've hunted Cape buffalo, hippo, crocodile. Been to Mozambique, enjoyed that. But probably now I've probably settled into where bird hunting is probably my favorite thing, and then taking we've had some exchange students and other people's kids. I've taken them hunting. I get more enjoyment out of that probably anymore than I do anything else.
Now the deer blind, is it really should be called a beer shack? Isn't that what it really is?
Well, it really is, because it's actually, it's a 4x6 blind up there, and normally it's 10 feet up in the air, and I like to occasionally make a video or something and do some stupid things and kind of show the landowner's cows, and I'll talk to the cows sometimes and tell them to kind of leave, but they don't listen to me. Number 13 is a red Angus, and she's really mean, and she doesn't listen. And so you have to be real careful when you're walking back to the truck out of the lease. And that's just a touch north of Morgan Mill. And I don't know if the cattle think that since they're near Morgan Mill, there's like the rodeo capital of Texas or something. And I'm not a bull rider. And every time I'm walking back to the truck, I always think, I need to get across that fence. And then you always hear the stories about the guy that got rammed up against the fence by killed in the corner post. And so, that the thought goes through my head, I'd say, what's the best way to get away from these cattle? And the best thing to do is to not walk out of the blind when it's pitch dark. That's the best thing to do. But, I just think about it, because, let's face it, I could run, but I'd probably die from a heart attack before one of the bulls got me.
Now, yeah, I figured you'd be getting down into the Bramer country.
There's Bramer that actually is on the neighbor's property, but the people that own the land, and I hunt on a little 103-acre place that's just north of Morgan Mill. The people that own it, they had purebred registered Angus there for the longest time, and he just now started crossing them. They're baldies now, and hornless, and so he's obviously, I think, bred them with and I know actually nothing about that, but I think he's bred them with a pulled Hereford bull,
right?
And so he's got baldy cattle down there, and they're cute,
and they're cute,
but they're not really cute when they're trying to ram you in the fence. So what's really funny is the landowner will show up there on Saturdays. I figured to schedule out now. He shows up on Saturdays, and he'll start calling them. And I really need to record him doing it, because it's kind of like a yodeling session while he's shaking a feed sack.
It's probably got cake, doesn't he?
He could I could probably make a rap song out of it.
Yeah. Oh, I don't doubt you could. I don't doubt you could.
But there's a Brammer bull that sits on the other side of the fence on a neighboring property, and so I'm waiting. If he finds out that any of those cows ever got bred by that Brammer bull, he's going to be mad, because that fence, it ain't real good. It's good, but it ain't real good.
So if you've got cattle in heat, it doesn't matter what kind of fence, unless you've got a New Mexico United States border wall, it ain't gonna hold them because they're gonna jump it. They'll run through it. It doesn't matter if those cattle are in heat on the other side of the fence. And I'm sure you've seen that out of a deer blind.
Love will find a way.
Yeah, love will find a way, especially if it's Bramer love, because they're made out of pure stainless steel, and it's not a pretty sight. Now, speaking of the videos, you've taken it upon yourself to make a couple weather reports over the last year, and I've got those recorded. We'll play those. You won't be able to hear them right now, but when we drop this podcast, you made one out of Kansas. Now, tell me what inspired you up in Kansas to I think you were blocking maybe for a pheasant hunt. Is that right? Or were you blocking for some quail? What were you doing?
I was blocking, and I had Miss Dixie with me, and I ended up with Dixie a couple of years ago, and she's been a good dog. She's an English setter, and I'm gonna go ahead and put out a public service announcement as a PSA. If you have 3 dogs at your house already, don't go on a business trip and bring home a 4th dog. It's just a PSA. I'm gonna put that out there.
Is she number 4?
One of my better decisions, and especially one that sheds white hair. Not a good idea. So, and I was just going to put that out there. But anyhow, in the process of all this, I just kind of thought, maybe I needed another dog. And so I was up in Kansas, and I love the bird hunt, right? And I had this English setter, and we had already walked like 4 days, and it felt like somebody had taken my legs and beat me to death with them. And the hunt wasn't all that great, and so they said, hey, we need to have somebody block the end of this field. So I blocked the end of that field, and I thought, well, there really wasn't a lot going on, so I thought I'd go ahead and give a weather report because, you don't have, and I realized I wasn't hired to be like a field staff on, the man on the street giving you the weather and everything, but I really thought, from a voluntary position that maybe I, trying to get that job, see if I could be your on-staff field reporter, kind of like a Dryline Farmer Podcast pro staff weather reporter. Is that position still open?
We've gotten a few applications in, but so far nobody's passed that background check, and yours is still in the mix. I know there was a couple holdups. I think it was the NSA. Maybe they had a few questions. They saw you on video. I think it was like at the Capitol building a few days ago. Looked like you were. I swear, it looked like you were. Like you poked the eyes out of like one of those paintings, and you were looking through it, and you had like Daryl taking your picture. It could be I'm not gonna lie, Tom. It could be an issue.
Well, I'm going to tell you, it wasn't me. That and I don't care what the lady that had the caption that said, "Or where's the Cracker Barrel gift shop?" that was the best caption, and I don't know, I will tell you this, that I'm glad that I don't think there are any pictures of me there.
Well, see, to be honest, I really thought you were the Silence of the Lambs guy with the horns and the tattoos and the painted face. That's really who I thought it was. I thought it was Tom Tenseth that had the Tatanka outfit.
I can guarantee you, in a lineup, I will not be picked out as that guy.
Turns out that guy was a professional protester, but it's what do you expect? You just got to expect you're going to be on video, or you're going to have a picture taken of you anywhere where anything is going on, except maybe in the deer blind. And you're taking your own weather reports, so that's obviously out the window. Yeah. But your Kansas weather report, and then it looked like you did another one in, I believe, was it Odessa?
Oh yeah, Odessa. And that's the fortunate thing, is I get to travel for work, and and I've seen I still don't really truly know, and I guess I could have Googled, dry line, but every time I Google dry line, it pulls up your podcast. So
I'm sure it does.
People want to find out. So I wasn't really aware, and so I was videotaping that, and I was going like, here it is. And the only time I'd ever seen like rain, and then there's this line where the rain stops at, I was assuming that there's a possibility that was the dry line. I remember going to see one of those vacations. When you're a kid, you don't get a choice whether or not you're going on vacation or not. You jump in the 73 Catalina Grand Safari station wagon with the 455 Pontiac, and it was golden color, by the way.
Now, did they have wood panel doors?
You stop at all these places, and you shut up during the whole trip, because that's back when your parents, if you were being a bad child, they'd beat your ass. So we're going down the road, and we go to see Uncle Frank and my Aunt Orpha, and we were there.
Whoa. Aunt who?
Orpha, which would have been my grandfather Oliver's sister, and and Oliver unfortunately passed away in '54, my father's and uncle's dad, but she was still alive. And Aunt Orpha was married to Frank. Well, we went out there, and of course, my parents were, I don't know if you know this or not, they were really cheap. So they had like a coupon or something to Disneyland. And we get out there, and we're in whatever city they lived in California. And I remember standing outside there by the road, and I got to see the rain with these huge raindrops. It was dry where I was at, and the rain was moving like about 2 inches a second, and I've never seen that before. And I was seeing that in Odessa, and I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah,
So I thought maybe I've witnessed a dry line.
What do you figure Orpha? That had to be short for something.
I don't know what that was.
Orphelia, or
it might have been. She was a product of a German and Norwegian love affair.
I was gonna say, was she a dirty Swede or something? Yeah.
Yeah, and she is actually, to be honest with you, she was a lieutenant in the Army, and met her husband at Walter Reed.
Really? Lieutenant Orpha?
Yep.
That is something else. Yeah, and I have to admit, you've already got another strike against you, because in both of your weather reports, you said the Dryline Farmers podcast, and it's not the Dryline Farmers podcast. It's just one Dryline farmer. So I don't know. I'm afraid it's not looking very good. We might have to curve the scale a little bit, but we'll try to get you in there.
Well, I always enjoyed the where they would go ahead and do that, and we're grading our tests and grading on a curve. I still remember when they handed me a diploma. I was like, man, this is so amazing. How is this possible? So I still remember that day. It was great.
That was you really put us on the map with it. I got to tell you, my downloads went from 20 to 30. It was.
Are you serious?
It was touching. It really got me right in the feelers.
So do you think that maybe possibly the live? Well, I hope you'll take me into consideration, because I really like that non-paid position.
So does Landon. So do I. I figure in 10 years, when I get my investment back on my microphones and my mixer, that I'll start paying dividends, just like the co-ops do when they're 15 years behind on their dividend payments. Not mine. They're on time, but I like the co-op.
Well, Landon with you guys were talking about how the trucks come in overloaded all the time. With when they do the harvest, and he pulls in with their trucks, and when he was talking about that, the one guy that pulled in there, and it was at 110,000 pounds or whatever,
right?
Gross. And I was just laughing about that so badly. And when I was a mechanic, we'd have this group of guys that were obviously grain haulers that would go from location to location to location, which all they were custom grain haulers. It wasn't the typical, the Carlson farm showing up with the trailer that hasn't been moved in 11 months.
Right.
Go out and ether the old Ford L9000 and rattle off, and it finally starts up, and some wasps come out from underneath the hood.
And my shit all over the seats.
Yeah, these guys would come in, and believe it or not, the name on the side of the truck was the James Gang. These were guys that would come in and haul from down in Kansas, and they would come in with these Kenworth K100s and everything else, and old crusty old cab overs, and show up there at the dealership and want their air conditioner fixed. And during harvest season, when they'd be pulling wheat in, and I remember working there at the Mac House at Bruckner's, and you'd be fixing the air conditioner on these things, and those trucks would just smell just exactly like Hereford.
See, now those guys, and these, I don't know if they still make them, but I know they still wear them because there's a trucking outfit in Hereford. I don't know if you've heard of him, Ryder. He's probably got 30 trucks. I don't know, whatever the case is. But all his bull haulers, they've got the old boots that they've got like the metal latches that you don't have to take your regular cowboy boots off. You can put those boots over the top of you know what I'm talking about? They've got the big metal latches. They open real wide. That way they don't ever get Hereford in there. Oh man, dude, they still, I don't go anywhere. Jibo's, Tractor Supply, anywhere. I don't see them selling it anywhere. They must, I don't know if they have like lifetime warranties. I don't even think the people that make them are still alive, but these bull haulers are, they're still using them. And they're awesome. Their trucks are clean.
You've seen quite a bit of stuff in your lifetime, even though it's been fairly short in comparison to mine.
Yeah, 10 years less.
See the cowboy boots that had a tennis shoe bottom on them?
Oh yeah. Oh hell yeah. Those were that was in the Mo Betta shirt days. Remember those? That was when Garth really got big. Mo Betta. Mo Betta was the follow up to the Brush Popper. I think I had a Mo Betta shirt. Garth Brooks made him big. Oh, he put him on the map, man. It's like Tom Tenseth doing a weather report for the Dryland Farmers podcast.
Ooh, kind of. I don't know if you know this or not. If you ever see anything but one of our salesmen out of our Enid, Oklahoma store actually drives the truck for OSU.
Oh yeah.
You talk about Garth. I'll tell you a short Garth story right quick. So he gets to go to all the ball games and sits up there on the sideline. He said Garth will occasionally come to those games.
Right.
And Garth will hang out there, and he'll be on the sideline and kind of incognito. He sits there and he kind of fidgeting back and forth between everybody, and supposedly this is the story I've heard. And of course, it's secondhand from our salesman there. Which, of course, I mean, do you really trust a salesman, anyways? But anyhow, he says,
God no.
Garth is there, and he's kind of bouncing back and forth, and he goes, man, this is just so great to be here. He's just being one of the regular guys and everything. And I guess Garth goes on about this 2 or 3 times. And finally, one of the guys that kind of helps with the equipment like Jeff does, he kind of looks at him and he says, you're Garth Brooks, damn it. Start acting like it. I guess he got kind of, because, I mean, if you are Garth Brooks, you kind of are somebody in Stillwater, aren't you?
Yeah, I mean, he grew up, in Yukon? I mean, come on. It's like, come on, Garth, let's get some tail in here. Let's throw that weight around a little bit, yo. I mean,
isn't that kind of like being Chris Bredwell right there in Hereford?
Well, no. Now he would run the tail off. He wouldn't bring it in.
Somebody special, Chris is special.
Yeah, he gets his own parking spot. That's how special he is. Yeah, it's pretty true.
Right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Well, let me give you I'm going to give you a couple quick hitters and see. We're going to play. I don't know if it's a psychological game, but I want to know, without any thought processes, what do you watch on YouTube?
Well, I like watching hog hunting shows.
Now, like the animal shows, or are we talking like cruel college prank shows?
Oh, no, the animal shows.
Oh, okay. Okay. Because we had an episode on hog hunting, and it wouldn't have anything to do with any weaponry. So, have you watched? Now, I watch live PD clips all day long on YouTube when I can, which this time of year is I can do it a lot. So yeah. So hog hunting videos. So do you get any suggesting ads from watching all those hunting videos in your Google feed when your cookies are all full of hunting videos?
Absolutely. So it's usually for rifle scopes and rifle scopes or Midway USA. Something will pop up there for ammunition or anything like that. But you have to watch what you say or text on anything, because you don't know what you're going to get a suggested ad for next time you open up your Instagram or your Facebook or the Twitter box.
I'm telling you, man, and I've heard this from more than one person, that, I was talking about such and such the other day, and I guarantee the next day it ended up on I had ads for it in my Facebook feed, and I didn't search it. I didn't even put keystrokes into the search bar or anything, and it was in there. I guarantee they're listening to us, but that's a whole nother episode. What?
Well,
yeah,
you're absolutely right. I mean, it happens, even doing texting.
Yeah, it's scary. Yoga pants, Tom.
Let me tell you a short story about yoga pants. we were
Please
at,
do.
We were at the airport though. I travel quite a bit for work, and in flight, it seems like everybody's kind of relaxed their travel attire, and you'll be there at the airport, and I had a lady bend over right in front of me one time, and right standing in front of me in the security line, pre-COVID, of course. Otherwise, I would have been 6 foot away, and she bent over.
You probably started 6 foot away, and then she bent over.
And as the song goes, showed her world to me. And
was her body a wonderland, Tom?
No.
Oh, it wasn't. It was Disneyland.
It was. There's a difference between Disneyland and Disney World, and they say the difference is the size.
Yeah.
And so I was actually in shock. I mean.
So did she split or what?
It should actually be illegal, and this was a DFW airport. And I thought, you know what? The only way to really break people from doing this would be as if I were to wear those pants or leggings to the airport, because then they would deem those as lewd and salacious.
Well, I mean, let's be honest. Nobody wants to see that chicken breast of yours in the front of your pants, hanging out. They'd be much more comfortable with a toe than a breast hanging out the front of anybody's pants. Only reason I bring that up because some dude on Twitter the other day said women need to stop wearing yoga pants. I'm like, yeah, some of them do, but not all of them.
Well, and I'm a man, and I'm like, I don't need to see all that. And I think that even though we know that our Lord and Savior was tempted 3 times, we don't. Maybe that guy's right. Maybe they don't need to be wearing them. But I'm for a free society, and you can wear whatever you want to wear. But just be prepared for the consequences if somebody goes, "Ew."
Tom, let's be honest. If say it was you or me, and we were in the desert for 40 days with the devil, if he was wearing yoga pants, even that would have been a hard pass for us. It's like, no.
Yeah.
I would have been quoting scripture too. You can take me to the pinnacle of the temple, dude. I'm still shutting you down. Oh man.
Yeah, that's true.
You've seen the commercial with Satan and the 2020 girl, I'm sure. The Match.com one.
No, I haven't seen that one yet. But
yeah.
Unfortunately, I haven't. But I'm going to Google it after we get off this.
Yeah, you need to, definitely. Yeah. So Satan, he uses Match.com, and they finally matched him with something, and the girl's name was 2020. And anyway, they do this like love romance sequence. They go on a date and everything. But okay, so now what's this last one here? Now you said tell me about this biker side of you. Now, are you like a Sturgis biker, or what kind of biker are you? Or are you like
I've got an old shovel head that I've had for years, and I rode for a long time, and when I'm a mechanic and early on in sales before I got married, I liked to ride motorcycles. I wasn't much of going to Sturgis. I just I like the sound of a motorcycle, especially a Harley Davidson. The older, the better. And I kind of hadn't really rode in like 10 plus years. And we had an exchange student. Our first one that we ever had was we had for a semester from Germany. His name was David. And he seen it in my shop, and he wore me out. He left and right. He rode a motorcycle back home. Of course, they're limited to the amount of horsepower until they're a certain age. Until they're 18 years old, I think it's like 35 horsepower. So they're kind of a 125 cc is the largest motorcycle they can ride over there until they're 18 years old. And I've had that shovel head from probably since the mid 90s. And he just wore me out. He said, man, if you had that, I can't believe you own that motorcycle and don't ride it every day. And so I said, tell you what, David, I said, if you're man enough to start that motorcycle, I said, with the Kickstarter, I said, I'll work on it and get it running again. I said, you help me work on it, get the brakes going. And we worked on it for about 2 or 3 weeks, and cleaned the carburetor out and got the brakes changed, and actually fixed the electric starter that had to work for like the last 20 plus years, and drilled the broken bolts out, which is pretty common, or the bolts that fell out, and fixed that and got it up and running again. And I told him, I said, if you can go ahead and start it like a man. And he kick-started it, and he was right at 6'1", 6 foot. And went ahead and he stood on it, and about 155 pounds, and he got it fired up. And I told him, I said, now, David, I said, if you want to come back, after you graduate high school, I said, I'll go buy another bike, and me and you will take off for a couple of weeks, and we'll go ride across America. And, he was a good boy, and we showed him everything there was about Texas, and hopefully didn't ruin him in any way. But, he's going to come back. He was supposed to come back this last during 2020. We were going to go for a ride. As a matter of fact, with our girl from Italy that we had, she rides her own motorcycle over there in Italy, and so I bought another motorcycle, and I bought an 02 dresser, garbage wagon for me to ride, and then take Alessia with, or my wife, and then Alessia could ride on the back of on my 78 model. And I just enjoy getting my knees in the breeze and getting out there on the road.
That's poetic, Tom. Knees in the breeze. That's beautiful.
Knees in the breeze, yeah. That's I enjoy it. It's not a. I would say that it could be an unhealthy lifestyle, but at the same time too, I enjoy motorcycles, especially Harley Davidsons, or any of the old Triumphs or BSAs. And at some point in time, I'd like to have an even older one, maybe in the mid-50s. I'd like to have an old 70s style chopper at some point in time. But I'm not sure my back could probably handle riding one of them, but I sure think they look cool.
The chopper, it just seems like your arms would go to sleep after you turn the first corner. They look neat. They look neat.
They're pretty tough. I've rode a hardtail a little bit, and I do think
that's what she said.
You see some of those guys riding the hardtails, and they'll put the big 18-inch wheel on there, and you can see them bouncing all over the highway with the open chain primary, and they got grease all over their pants. But you know what? They look like they're free, and they're not worried about anything else because they're worried about that motorcycle falling apart while they're riding it. So they don't have any time to worry about anybody else. So it kind of frees your mind for a little bit.
move over Walt Whitman. We've got Tom Tenseth coming here with the poetry, man. I tell you what, I can't tell you the last time in college when I wrote a hardtail and got grease on my pants. It wasn't a hard. But that's for another time, Tom. Tom, we're getting here to the end of it. Tell everybody where we can find you on the Twitter box and any other social media you want to make public.
Oh, just Small Game Safari at Twitter box or on Instagram, SM Game Safari, and you can find me on Facebook at Thomas Tenseth. I don't spend much time on there, mostly on Twitter. I like Twitter the most, even though I'm sure at some point in time Jack will strip me of my rights. So but that's okay. You can find me.
I mean, what does everybody expect? They've got a homeless guy with a nose ring running the thing. Of course he's going to shut down everybody that's conservative.
Well, I don't necessarily think I'm conservative that much. I've got 4 dogs. Come on, Brent.
Well, how many cats do you have is really the measure.
I have 0 cats. This is a cat-free establishment. I will say that.
So we've got 2 dogs, but we've got a cat. He was a barn cat. He was one of 4 that we got from my wife's sister, and got him as kittens and put him out in the barn, and he was the first one to disappear. Then 2 more disappeared, and then the last one disappeared. And then my wife was telling our neighbor, which is about a half mile down the road, about our cats. Somehow they got talking about cats, and she goes, "Oh yeah, we had one show up a couple months ago, and he hangs out with the dogs." And sure enough, it was Waffles. Anyway, so we go down. Waffles. Oh yeah, they got named from I forgot what cartoon the boys named them from, but it was Waffles, and I can't remember, but he was my favorite. It
wasn't the blue waffle, was it?
No. This is a tiger stripe waffle made from Wings of Fire. I don't know. Whatever the case, we rounded him back up and brought him back down here, and we let him in the house a couple times, and now he's not a house cat per se, but he's in the house quite a bit. But he doesn't shed, so that's the only reason he gets to stay in here. But we've got 2 little mini Australians in the backyard, and their pets is about all they are. So, and they drag up dead stuff and such as that goes. But yeah, so everybody, we have had a blast. Me and this turd in my pocket. But I've had a blast talking to Tom. You can find us on Twitter at Trader Brent and at NoTwitLandon44. And also on the Global Ag Network at Global Ag Network. And also, we always got to give a shout out to our good buddy Casey Seymour. That's at Moving Iron LLC. He does the Moving Iron podcast. And we're going to have to hook up Tom and Casey because Casey is an equipment guy and Tom moves equipment. So there's got to be a love story somewhere in there. And I'm sure there's some good hunting in the panhandle of Nebraska. But so yeah, that's hawking our podcast out to anywhere you can find them on the internet. So Tom, any last words? Are you're 25 years, you're probably going to be retiring in the next couple, aren't you?
Oh, at the age of 50, I'm planning on retiring probably by 52. So, what I really like everybody to do is remember, no matter what the economy, you remember there's a commission salesman out there that's dependent on you.
That's right.
And seeing as though, we can't say sell more in 04, we're going to say get her done in 21.
There you go. Because hindsight's 2020, isn't it? Almost called you Lennon, isn't it, Tom?
Let's put 2020. Go ahead and plunge it. And let's get it down the lateral line.
I tell you what, man. I don't know what it is about 9 and 10-year boys, but damn, they can. Talking about plug, they can plug up a crapper, and I don't know how their body does it. But by God, I know why. Because you can hear them grunting from the freaking living room.
You take a good look at it if it's still in there before you have to put the plunger on top of it.
Oh.
If it's got 3 full humps coming out of the water, that's a Loch Ness monster.
You can hear it growling from underwater. It's that kind of mean. Yeah, that is for show. Well, guys, we're going to get out of here. Once again, we want to thank Tom Tenseth of Weatherford, Texas.
We got a security alert here.
We got a security. Well, hey, that's perfect timing. I thought that was a duck call at first. Well, guys, we're going to get out of here. Thanks, Tom, and we'll ask everybody.
We'll see you.
What side of the line are you on?
The Dryline Farmer Podcast, a member of the Global Ag Network. There's podcasts, and then there's this, the Dryline Farmer Podcast.